I never expected my answer to break her heart. The camera was rolling, her question seemed innocent enough, but what happened next changed both our lives forever. If you've ever felt misunderstood in love or struggled to explain your choices to someone who matters, this story might just hit home. Stay with me until the end, I promise it's worth it. If this resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe to join our community of authentic souls. The coffee shop buzzed with the usual afternoon crowd when Eliza suggested we film a casual Q&A for her growing YouTube channel. I agreed, not knowing her seemingly playful question would unearth something so deep within me. So, James, she smiled into the camera, tucking a strand of chestnut hair behind her ear, you're smart, successful, not completely hideous. She winked, and I rolled my eyes good-naturedly. Why are you still single? The question hung between us. I could have given the easy answer, too busy with work, haven't found the right person, enjoying my freedom. But something about Eliza's genuine curiosity made me pause. We'd been friends for years, dancing around an unspoken attraction neither of us had the courage to acknowledge. You really want to know? I asked, my voice quieter than intended. She nodded, her smile faltering slightly at my serious tone. I'm single because I'm terrified, I began, surprising even myself with my honesty. I watched my parents' marriage crumble when I was 12. My dad told my mom he'd never really loved her, that he'd settled because it was convenient. I remember her face when he said those words, like something inside her shattered. Eliza's camera continued recording, but her eyes were now fixed solely on me, the YouTube video seemingly forgotten. After that, I promised myself I'd never settle, and I'd never let anyone settle for me. I'd rather be alone than be someone's compromise. I took a deep breath. And the truth is, I've never met someone who made me feel certain enough to risk it all, except maybe once. Her eyes widened slightly, and I knew she understood I was talking about her. But that person was always just out of reach, or maybe I kept her at a distance because I was afraid of what might happen if I let her get too close. A tear slipped down Eliza's cheek, catching the afternoon light streaming through the window. The camera captured it all, the vulnerability, the years of unspoken feelings, the painful honesty. I think we should stop filming, she whispered, reaching to turn off the camera with trembling fingers. But she didn't. Instead, she asked the question that had lingered between us for years, why didn't you ever say anything? Our friendship had begun in college, both of us ambitious communication majors with dreams of making an impact. Eliza wanted to tell stories through film, I wanted to write them. We became inseparable, study partners, confidants, each other's biggest supporters. When she started dating Michael in our junior year, I buried my feelings deeper, convincing myself our friendship was too valuable to risk. You were with Michael, I reminded her. And by the time that ended, you were focused on building your career. The timing never seemed right. That's a cop-out, she said, wiping away another tear. Timing is just an excuse people use when they're afraid. She was right, of course. Eliza had always seen through me. I was afraid, I admitted. I still am. What if we tried and it didn't work? What if I lost you completely? The coffee shop continued its busy hum around us, oblivious to the years of emotion unfolding at our small corner table. Eliza's channel had grown from casual vlogs to thoughtful explorations of modern relationships. Her followers appreciated her authenticity, her willingness to be vulnerable. I'd always admired that about her, her courage to feel deeply, to risk disappointment for the chance at something meaningful. Do you know why I started this channel? She asked suddenly. I shook my head. After Michael and I broke up, I felt so lost. Everyone around me seemed to have these perfect relationships, or at least that's what they showed on social media. I wanted to create a space where people could be honest about how messy and complicated love really is. She reached across the table and took my hand. The irony is, I've been helping strangers navigate their relationships while avoiding the most important one in my own life. My heart pounded as her words sank in. What are you saying, Eliza? I'm saying I've been afraid too. Afraid that my feelings were one-sided. Afraid that if I told you how I felt, you'd pull away. She squeezed my hand. We've both been hiding behind excuses. The realization of how much time we'd wasted hit me like a physical pain. Years of meaningful glances, lingering hugs, late-night conversations that danced around what we really wanted to say, all because we were too afraid to risk the comfort of what we already had. So what now? I asked, my voice barely audible over the espresso machine's hiss. Eliza glanced at her camera, still recording. Now we have a choice. We can keep playing it safe, or we can be brave. That conversation happened 6 months ago. The video Eliza eventually posted, heavily edited but still raw with emotion, became the most viewed on her channel. Thousands of comments poured in from people who recognized themselves in our story, who had also let fear keep them from reaching for what they truly wanted. We decided to be brave. Not recklessly, but intentionally. We started dating, taking things slowly, learning how to transition from friends to something more. It wasn't always smooth. We had our first fight 3 weeks in, when old insecurities surfaced and threatened to derail us. But we kept talking, kept choosing honesty over comfort. 4 months into our relationship, Eliza's channel hit 1 million subscribers. The community she'd built celebrated with us, many of them invested in our story, seeing their own hopes reflected in our journey. They're not just following for us, Eliza told me one night as we scrolled through comments. They're following because we're showing them that it's okay to be scared and do it anyway. Last week, Eliza asked me to join her for another video. This time, the question was different. So, James, she smiled into the camera, her eyes bright with happiness, why are you no longer single? I looked at the woman who had been my best friend for years before becoming my partner, and the answer came easily. Because I finally realized that some things are worth the risk. That loving someone doesn't guarantee you won't get hurt, but not loving them guarantees you'll miss out on something extraordinary. Eliza's eyes glistened, but these weren't tears of sadness or regret. They were tears of recognition, of seeing and being seen by someone who chooses you, not despite your fears and flaws, but with full awareness of them. I'm not saying our story is perfect. We still have moments of doubt, times when old fears resurface. I still sometimes wake up wondering if I'm enough, if this happiness can last. But then I look at Eliza, and I choose to believe in us again. Every day, a conscious choice. The truth about being single wasn't that I hadn't found the right person, it was that I hadn't been ready to be the right person. I needed to face my fears, to understand that vulnerability isn't weakness but the greatest form of courage. If you're watching this and recognizing yourself in my story, if you're holding back from love because you're afraid of getting hurt, I want you to know something: the pain of regret lasts far longer than the pain of trying and failing. The question isn't whether you'll get hurt, it's whether you'll let that possibility keep you from experiencing the fullness of life. Eliza and I don't know what the future holds. No one does. But we're no longer letting that uncertainty keep us from embracing the present. We're learning that love isn't about finding someone perfect, it's about finding someone worth taking the risk for. So if there's someone in your life you've been afraid to reach out to, someone you've kept at a distance because getting closer feels too dangerous, maybe today is the day to be brave. Maybe today is the day to say what you've been holding back. Because sometimes, the words that are hardest to say are exactly the ones that need to be heard. If this story touched something in you, please hit that like button and subscribe. Join our community of people choosing courage over comfort, authenticity over safety. Share your own stories in the comments, we read every one. And remember, staying single because you're waiting for the right person is valid. Staying single because you're afraid of getting hurt is understandable. But don't let fear make your decisions for you. Some risks are worth taking, some people are worth the leap of faith. I'm grateful every day that Eliza and I finally took ours. The camera lingered on our intertwined hands before fading to black. In the comments that followed, thousands shared their own stories of fear and courage, of chances taken and chances missed. Some wrote about reaching out to someone they'd kept at a distance, others about finding peace with their decision to wait for something that felt right. What began as a simple Q&A had become something much more meaningful, a reminder that behind our carefully constructed facades, we're all just trying to figure out how to love and be loved without losing ourselves in the process. Eliza's channel continued to grow, but more importantly, so did we, both as individuals and as a couple. We learned that relationships don't solve your problems, they reveal them. That love isn't just a feeling but a daily practice of choosing someone even when it's difficult. Especially when it's difficult. 6 months later, we moved in together. The adjustment wasn't easy. I was used to my space, my routines, the freedom to retreat when emotions felt overwhelming. Eliza was more naturally expressive, comfortable with conflict in ways I was still learning to be. We had to find a rhythm that honored both our needs, a balance between togetherness and independence. "This is the real work," Eliza said one night after we'd worked through a disagreement about something trivial that had unearthed deeper insecurities. Not the grand gestures or the passionate beginnings, but this, choosing to understand each other even when it would be easier to withdraw. She was right, as she often is about matters of the heart. The coffee shop confession had been just the beginning. The real story was in what came after, the daily choices, the small acts of courage that built a foundation strong enough to weather uncertainty. A year after that first viral video, Eliza proposed a new series for her channel, Beyond the Beginning, exploring how couples navigate the less glamorous aspects of relationships, the conflicts, compromises, and growth that happen after the initial excitement fades. "People love the falling in love stories," she explained as we brainstormed ideas, "but they need the staying in love stories even more." We invited other couples to share their experiences, creating a space where people could talk honestly about the challenges they faced and the strategies that helped them overcome them. The response was overwhelming, viewers grateful for content that acknowledged the complexity of long-term commitment in a culture obsessed with new beginnings. Through it all, Eliza and I continued our own journey, learning that love isn't something you find once and keep forever without effort. It's something you build day by day, choice by choice, conversation by difficult conversation. 2 years after that tearful coffee shop moment, I asked Eliza to marry me. Not because it was the expected next step or because I needed her to prove her commitment, but because I wanted to stand before our friends and family and choose her, officially and publicly, as my partner in all things. The proposal wasn't elaborate, just the two of us on the beach at sunset, the same place we'd had our first real date after deciding to give us a chance. I'd written her a letter, pouring out all the things I'd once been too afraid to say. "You didn't just change my answer to why I'm single," I told her as I knelt in the sand. "You changed my understanding of what it means to love someone. Not perfectly, but completely. Not despite our fears, but with them." She said yes through tears that, this time, I understood completely. Joy and fear and hope all mingled together, the full spectrum of emotion that comes with choosing to build a life with another imperfect human being. We decided to share the engagement with Eliza's followers, not as content but as a thank you to the community that had, in many ways, witnessed and supported our journey from friends to partners to future spouses. "Your story gave me courage to tell my best friend how I felt," one comment read. "We've been together for a year now. I was about to give up on love after my divorce," wrote another. "Your honesty about fear helped me realize I wasn't broken, just healing." Message after message reminded us that vulnerability, when shared with intention, creates ripples far beyond our immediate circle. That by telling our truth, we give others permission to acknowledge theirs. Our wedding was small but meaningful, a celebration not just of our love but of the courage it took to acknowledge it. Eliza's vows referenced that day in the coffee shop, the moment when pretense fell away and truth, however painful, created an opening for something authentic to grow. "I fell in love with you long before that day," she said, her voice steady despite the tears in her eyes, "but I fell in love with us, with what we could be together, when you were brave enough to be honest about your fear." You showed me that real love isn't fearless, it's feeling the fear and choosing connection anyway. My vows acknowledged the journey we'd taken from that vulnerable moment to this committed one. I used to think love was something that happened to you, a feeling that either existed or didn't. You taught me that love is a practice, a daily choice, a way of seeing someone fully and choosing them anyway. I choose you today, and I'll choose you tomorrow, and all the days after that. As we exchanged rings, I thought about all the versions of myself that had led to this moment, the scared boy watching his parents' marriage dissolve, the cautious young man keeping everyone at a safe distance, the person who finally found the courage to risk his heart. Each version necessary, each part of the whole. After the wedding, life continued its beautiful, messy unfolding. Eliza's channel evolved as we did, exploring new themes as we encountered them in our own relationship. We talked openly about our decision whether to have children, about balancing two creative careers, about supporting each other through family illnesses and professional disappointments. Through it all, we returned to the lesson of that first honest conversation, that vulnerability, while frightening, is the only path to genuine connection. That the answer to, "Why are you still single?" had never really been about being single at all, but about being willing to risk not being single anymore, to risk loving and losing rather than never loving at all. 5 years after that tearful coffee shop conversation, Eliza and I sat down to film a special anniversary video. Her channel had grown beyond anything we could have imagined, spawning a podcast, a book deal, and speaking engagements around the country. But more importantly, we had grown, as individuals and as partners. Looking back, I said to the camera, I realized that the question wasn't really, "Why are you still single?" but, "Are you brave enough not to be?" Eliza smiled, squeezing my hand. And the answer wasn't what made me cry. It was recognizing how much time we'd wasted being afraid. But we got there eventually, I reminded her. We did, she agreed. And that's the message I hope people take from our story. It's never too late to be brave. It's never too late to choose love over fear. As the camera recorded our exchange, I thought about all the people watching, some single and wondering if they'd ever find someone worth the risk, others in relationships questioning if they'd made the right choice, still others married for years and working to keep their connection alive amid life's demands. If you're watching this and wondering if it's worth it, the vulnerability, the risk, the potential for heartbreak, I won't lie to you, I said. Love is hard. Relationships take work. There are days when you'll question everything. But, Eliza continued, there are also moments of such profound connection, such complete understanding, that they make every difficult conversation, every compromise, every fear you've faced worth it. I nodded, thinking of all we'd been through together, the arguments that ended in deeper understanding, the celebrations that felt sweeter for being shared, the quiet moments of ordinary life made extraordinary by the simple fact of facing them together. The answer to, "Why are you still single?" will be different for everyone, I concluded. And there's no wrong answer, as long as it's honest. But if your answer is, "Because I'm afraid," know that you're not alone. We've all been afraid. The question is whether you'll let that fear make your decisions for you. As Eliza ended the recording, I reflected on how far we'd come from that first vulnerable moment. How a question asked for content had unexpectedly changed the course of our lives. How tears of recognition had opened a door we'd both been afraid to walk through. The truth is, I'm still afraid sometimes. I still have moments of doubt, days when I wonder if I'm enough, if we'll make it through whatever challenges lie ahead. But now I know that courage isn't the absence of fear, it's feeling the fear and choosing love anyway. Every day. Again and again. If you're watching this and something in our story resonates with you, please hit that like button and subscribe. As the years passed, our story continued to evolve. 10 years after that coffee shop conversation, Eliza and I sat in our backyard, watching our daughter play with our aging golden retriever. The YouTube channel had transformed into something bigger than either of us had imagined, a platform for authentic conversations about relationships that had helped millions navigate their own paths to connection. Do you ever think about how different our lives would be if I hadn't asked that question? Eliza mused, leaning her head against my shoulder. I considered this, watching the sunset paint the sky in shades of orange and pink. I think we would have found our way to each other eventually, I said. But I'm grateful we didn't waste any more time than we already had. Our journey hadn't been without its challenges. We'd weathered career changes, the loss of parents, a miscarriage that tested our resilience and faith in each other. There were moments when the fear I'd confessed that day in the coffee shop resurfaced, fear of loss, of inadequacy, of the vulnerability that comes with loving someone completely. But each challenge had ultimately strengthened us, teaching us that love isn't about avoiding difficulties but facing them together. That the answer to, "Why are you still single?" had never been about finding someone perfect, but about becoming someone brave enough to love imperfectly, honestly, completely. As the light faded and our daughter called for us to join her game, I took Eliza's hand, feeling the familiar warmth that had become my home. The camera was long off, but the lesson remained. Some questions change everything, not because of the answer, but because of the courage it takes to answer truthfully. And in that courage, that willingness to be seen, to risk, to choose connection over safety, lies the greatest love story of all. If this journey has touched your heart, please like and subscribe. Join our community of people choosing authenticity over fear, connection over comfort. Because in the end, the most powerful stories aren't those with perfect endings, but those with honest beginnings.